I believe that money is a very spiritual thing. Very spiritual. It dictates your entire life. It dictates what you eat, where you live, what you dress. Nobody came here today naked. Is there anyone naked in our midst? Yeah, I hope not. Most of you, and if I believe all of you, came from a house this morning. You had a place where you slept last night, right? And I'm hoping that you had a cup of tea, something to eat. Money is important for each of us because it takes care of us, of our physical needs. But money is also a very emotional thing. You know, for those of you who have a salary, and that salary is paid regularly 28th, 29th, maybe 30th of the month. And by 15th, your account is staring at you with wide open eyes. There's nothing there. Tell me what your emotional state is. When people look at you, they ask you, are you sick? Are things okay? No, I'm fine. But your head is getting lower and lower. By the 20th, it's almost like you're an old person. You can barely walk, you can't lift your head up. And then 28th, that SMS alert hits your phone. Your account has been credited with whatever amount. All of a sudden now you're like, oh, anyone for lunch? Shall we do some lunch today? You know, I owe you lunch, don't I? Yes, let's come, it's my treat. You're talking better, you're walking upright, because money has that effect on us. So I believe that the way we make money, the way we take care of money, the way we save money, the way we waste money is a very spiritual matter because it affects all of our life. There's no part of our life that's not affected by how we handle money. So that's why I am interested in money. I'm interested in generating it. I'm interested in using it. I'm interested in saving it. I'm interested in having some when I retire so that my own life, my lifestyle does not decrease when I get older. Great. So let's have a look at those pictures. What comes to your mind when you look at pictures like this? Money? Now, the picture at the end there, where do you think that picture is? The house. Dubai? Qatar? Nigeria? Ooh, who's that? Come on, girl. But no. Where else do you think that house could be? That house is in Cape Town. And it costs 31 million US dollars. 31 million US dollars. In Cape Town, overlooking the ocean. What about the lady who's been dressed as a bride? Obviously, you can tell it's Nigerian, right? But who is she? Dangote's daughter. How much do you think her dress cost? Yeah, all you ladies who are still yet to get married and are cutting out these pictures for your dream book. How much do you think her wedding dress cost? Converted into Kenyan shillings, it cost slightly over 800,000 Kenyan shillings. Today, what's her name? Meghan Markle's getting married. How much is her wedding dress? There are some royal watchers here. Let's not pretend. Even me, from here, I'm going home to go and watch the wedding. So there are those of you who have been following, you know how much. So yes, so how much is her dress supposed to cost? And she's paying for it herself. How much? Did anybody see that? Nobody's been watching the blogs? 500,000. Not Kenya shillings. Pounds. Her dress. Okay? And that car. Men, this is for you. It's the Bugatti Veyron. And it's between 2 and 2.5 million US dollars. Who owns that car? The father of the bride. That's Dangote's car. Now, that is a lot of money. When I bought my first car, I thought heaven had come on earth. I paid a total, and I'd saved 100K. And I got a loan for 450 that took me 4 years to pay. A cool 500,000 Kenya shillings. My car. My bits. She deserved a name, and I called her Jade. But it was mine. Now, when we look at these guys and we think, well, that's another level. That's not us, right? But the question is, do they have 2 heads? Do they have 4 hands? They're human beings just like you and myself, right? But they have taken advantage of opportunities, of doorways, of situations that have come into their life that they've been able to accumulate wealth. But maybe you're sitting here and you're saying, well, that kind of money doesn't really excite me. After all, what's money? Let's look at the next slide. Am I going in the right direction? Okay, let's have a look at this. What's at the top? School. Can anybody identify that school? It was on social media throughout. It may not be very clear. Can anyone identify it? It was the school that was built in Kibra. Bagavi girls. That how much did they spend to build that school and equip it for the girls who come from lower income families to have a good education? How much money do you think was spent? Okay, I'll tell you. About 40 million Kenya shillings, right? And there's some gentleman who's got the best smile I've seen in a long time, who has just had a well built somewhere in northern Kenya, and they have fresh water for the first time. How much money do you think it cost to dig that well? Okay. And down here is a little corner. I know the lady who's in that picture. And she's a Zimbabwean lady, but she lives here in Kenya, married to a Kenyan. And she began a reading program because she realized kids in informal settlements in those primary schools, Jamhuri, Kawangware, were getting to standard 8, functionally illiterate. Could not read, could not write, but because there were 80 to 100 students in a classroom, they were just moved from classroom to classroom. And then they come out at standard 8 and they can barely read. And she began a program called Kusoma 2. How much money do you think it takes for her to run that? It takes donations. It takes people giving money, giving books. It takes people going up and digging wells. It takes your taxes to pay for the schools in our counties and in our communities. Basically, whether you're living large like Dangote, and I wanted to put his plane there. Because my Wits has to grow up. It has to grow up. One day it needs to be a citation. 5 aeroplanes. I don't know where I'll fly it to, but who knows? Whether you're into having the things that money can buy you, or being able to make a difference in someone's life, you need money. And you need to be smart about the money. Where it comes from, how you get it, how you save it, how you use it. Am I pointing in the right direction? Okay. So my question to you today is, which way does your compass point? Which way are you looking as you sit here today? What's going through your mind as you've seen those pictures? And pictures have a powerful thing of generating other images in your mind. And my question is, which way does your compass point? What are you looking for when you hear that Centonomy is helping you generate personal wealth? What are you looking for? What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about your own life? Are you thinking about your family's life? Thinking about the home that you live in? Are you thinking about your finances on a regular basis, that the 30th of the month comes and you still have a surplus? Are you thinking about your children and which schools they go to? Do you know there's schools in this city of ours that charge 2 million shillings for school fees for one term? 2 million? And again, I said the people that go to those schools have one head, 2 legs, just like you. Do you want to be able to walk into a hospital to pay for your child who has fallen sick without wondering which person you're going to call to ask them to loan you some money? Without having to have a harambe to be able to pay the cost of a medical bill? Or are you the kind of person who avoids the mamamboga because you've been taking food on credit from her? And now you cross the road so that she doesn't see you, or you come home when it's getting dark because you owe her 300 shillings and you can't pay it back. Which way does your compass point? Are you happy to stay where you are, or do you want to find your true north when it comes to being financially secure and building a base of wealth, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones, for people around you, for people you may not even know? Wouldn't it be great if you were able to provide finances to help rehabilitate the street children that you see on the streets every single day? Which way does your compass point? One of the things that Centonomy really talks about is you start where you are. It doesn't matter whether I can see some people who look closer to my age sitting there, and I can see others who are Melanie's age. It doesn't matter where you are. You start where you are, but in a new direction. You make the choice to say, I'm going to take a new direction to get me where I need to be. So if you have been doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, what does Einstein call it? Madness, lunacy. But you can stand here and say, I'm tired of doing things the way I've done it before. I need a new direction. And so you start from where you are. You acknowledge that I'm in debt. You acknowledge that I'm not very good at financial management. You acknowledge that I've got some learning that I need to do. And then you make a direction. And you take the right direction. And Centonomy is providing that new direction for you to take. I have sat through so many financial talks. I've gone in for those one-day seminars, and they give you all this manner of papers, and you sit down and they tell you all wonderful things about how to increase your wealth. The difference with Centonomy is that it gives you a long-term process by which you can then begin to make changes that are lasting changes. Sitting for 1 hour to revert 20 years of mismanagement of your finances doesn't really work. But taking the effort and putting the money in to sit and to learn under people who have been there, to begin to set in place your direction, gives you a better chance of success than those, and I'm not knocking them because they're very helpful, but it gives one a better success than just going for a half-day, one-day seminar on finances. You've got to make the commitment to take the new direction. The tenets that you'll find in Centonomy is how to manage your money better. So it doesn't really matter how much money you have. It doesn't really matter whether you have 1 million shillings, because I know of people who earn a salary of 800,000 to 1 million shillings, and they constantly don't have cash in hand. They're constantly broke. They're constantly paying off things by credit. They have credit card debt, but they earn 1 million shillings. But then you find someone who earns 10,000 shillings a month and is a much smarter person in managing their money. So Centonomy helps bring us up to the place where you manage your money better. But what I talk about when I do my session in Centonomy is the next thing. If you don't learn how to manage yourself, then you cannot manage your money. If you don't have an understanding of who you are as an individual and how then to live abundantly, then you will not have a good management of your finances. And some of the things that you need to think through about managing you is, what kind of value system do you have? What kind of value system do you have? You know, what do you spend your time doing? I think I heard Melanie say that when her friends call her out for coffee, she says, no, I'll come and cook for you. So she's not spending her time in a coffee house where if you know you sit there long enough, you will spend quite a bit of money. So how do you spend your days? What do you do with your time? Managing you is about having a clear identity of who you are. who you are as a person, who you are in community. What is your personality type like? Are you the kind of person that spends easy? Are you the kind of person that saves easy? What identity do you have as particular when it looks towards money? And then what is your money there for? What do you want to do with your money? Are you just piling up money in a bank account so that when you see the statement at the end of the year, it says you've got this number of millions? Or are you accumulating wealth to make the place where you live, your family, your friends, your community a much better place? If you're earning a salary today in Kenya, and you're earning it consistently over a period of years, if you're earning only 50,000, give yourself 10 years and millions will have gone through your hands. I looked at my Safaricom M-Pesa statement from May 2018, backwards to a year, May 2017. And I was horrified because, M-Pesa is 300 here, 1,000 here. If you're really doing a big thing, maybe it's 5,000 you're moving. But all that, when I looked at how much money had moved through my account, it was 1 million plus. And I said, it went where? Manicures, pedicures, coffee at Java. Where did it go? 1 million shillings went through my M-Pesa account in 1 year. And some of you, if you went and looked at your statements, it'd be higher. The question is, how do you manage what has been given to you? To what purpose is it there for? And then lastly, how do you judge your experiences? Your past, how you've spent money before in the past, how you've used money in the past, and some of the negative things that you have done that have affected how your money is spent. I think the one time I have been conned out of money was way back in, I think, 97. And I had just come back into the country. I had been living in another country. And in that country, the minute you hit 18 years old, you looked for a place to live. You didn't live with your parents. So I had been living on my own. I came back. I didn't have a job, but I was earning money kibarua, and I had a little bit of money, and I said, I must find my own place. So I went onto the newspaper. Those days, it was the newspaper that had the ads for home. And I found one in Imaradaima. And it was a 1-bedroom house, and I went. And the day I went there, I called the number and I went, and there was a watchman at the gate. He opened the house. I walked in and I said, perfect. I'm alone, 1-bedroom, nice kitchen, living room in Maradaima. It's close to places. Those days, Mombasa Road wasn't crazy. It was perfect. Then the owner of the house called me and said, I hear you like the house. Can we meet so that you can pay the deposit and all that? We sign papers. I said, great. So the day we were supposed to meet, he calls me and he says, we are meeting. Unfortunately, I have to take my wife to the hospital, MP Shah. So, not MP Shah, Guru Nanak. Can you please come to Guru Nanak and we can do the transaction there? And that was pretty close to where I was staying at my folks' place. I said, no problem. I made my way there. And the guy was there, he gave me some papers. I signed out some papers. We exchanged the deposit, sitting in the parking lot of Guru Nanak. Why bells weren't ringing in my head to this day, I don't know. I took the form and I took the keys. I went home and told my people I have paid a deposit for my new apartment. And we went the next day. And the key could not open door. I tried always up, down, wiggle it a little bit, just like yesterday it opened, today it can't open. To cut a long story short, I tried to call them back on the phone that they had given, that we were calling. For you millennials, you may not know, but it was for a phone booth. So apparently they were standing there. Anytime someone called, they picked immediately. So here I called and someone picked the phone and I asked for the name of the house agent. And says, Madam, this is a phone booth in Gikomba. That's an experience that I've had that has made me extremely cautious about who I sign my money over to. You learn how to be careful about past experiences. So that is what I normally, when I talk through the Centonomy on living abundantly and having an abundant lifestyle, an abundant mentality, so that when you do grow your wealth, and it could be, for some of you sitting here, it could be wealth as great as Aliko Dangote. It could be as great as that. But yet, the person that you are will be the one that will determine how that money is spent, whether it's frivolous or whether it is well used, not just for your benefit, but for the sake of humanity.